the closest thing to a herpes cure. How an amazing revolution in natural medicine allows you to erase herpes for good in just 21 days. Don't believe it? Here's proof. I stood quietly, my ear pressed to the door, listening as two female voices chatted back and forth like excited schoolgirls. They were trying to whisper. They did not want anyone to hear what they were saying, but every few seconds, one of them would let out a sharp, cackling laugh. The kind of laugh that only happens when you're being bad, but you just can't help yourself. And then the other voice would start laughing too. They were talking about me. And the more I listened, the more it felt like a knife was being twisted into my heart. "I know," said the first voice. "I thought he was really good looking too when I first started working here. I was going to ask him out like that first week, but then Kevin and I got back together and so I never did. Thank God though. Can you imagine if I dated him? I could have kissed him. Oh my God, it's so gross to think about now. I would have just died if he'd given me his herpes. And what if he has sores, you know where, too? What if we'd slept together? I would have died. Honestly, I don't know how he's able to show his face in public when he has a breakout. I know you can't miss work all the time, but if I got herpes outbreaks like the one he has right now, I would probably kill myself." That first voice belonged to Chrissy. She'd been my coworker for the last 6 months, and I'd had a huge crush on her since the first time I saw her. She was always so nice to my face, yet now I was realizing it was all an act. Behind my back, she was disgusted by me. She thought I was sick. The knife in my heart twisted deeper. "He's sweet, though," the second voice replied. "I feel bad for him. I always thought he was a decent guy, but obviously I was wrong. I used to think we were pretty close friends, too, but looks like I don't know him that well. I mean, I definitely don't know what he's doing in the bedroom, but it's probably some pretty nasty stuff. I really do feel bad for him, though. It's gotta be tough." The knife twisted again. That second voice belonged to my coworker, Erica. We used to joke that I was her work husband. She used to stop by my desk every day to tell me funny stories. We'd go for lunch 3 or 4 times per week. Now I knew why she'd been suddenly avoiding me. "All I'm saying," continued voice 1, my crush, Chrissy, clearly trying to hold back the laughter as she spoke, "that dude is damaged goods. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays single for the rest of his life. Unless he tricks some poor girl and infects her too, but even he's not that much of a sicko, right?" Hi, my name is Sam Russell, and that was one of the absolute worst days of my life, which happened during what was, without a doubt, the worst week of my entire life. The week that I suddenly, violently discovered that I had herpes. I say violently because that's what this outbreak was. I'd gone to bed fine, but woke up with what, at first, seemed to be a small rash around my mouth. By the end of that day, there were sores everywhere. And they weren't just on my mouth either. They were in the worst places imaginable. They were big, and they were quite noticeable. And just remembering all of this makes my stomach turn like the inside of a washing machine. In fact, the only reason I'm even remotely okay sharing any of this with you is because while this was one of the worst days in the worst week of my life, it's also what led me to the discovery of a shockingly simple but 100% effective way to permanently eliminate the herpes virus from my body, and to do it 100% naturally, without using a single gel, taking a single prescription drug, or having to suffer through even one embarrassing doctor visit. It sounds hard to believe, but thank God it's real. And thank God I stumbled onto the work of a small group of Ivy League-educated scientists who were working around the clock to find a way to eliminate the herpes virus from the body as fast as possible, and who were all too happy when I volunteered to make myself a human guinea pig in their experiments. Otherwise, I never would have been able to access the herpes-destroying breakthrough I'm going to be sharing inside this video. A protocol that's now been used by over 18,932 men and women from all walks of life and of all ages of life and of all ages. And that works differently than any prescription medication you've ever heard of. You see, while the expensive drugs that doctors prescribe are all designed to hide your symptoms, what I'm going to be telling you about today, it ruthlessly traps and destroys the herpes virus inside of your body, just as if it were some kind of ugly rat. And even more remarkably, the medical advancement that I'm going to share with you today has a documented 97% success rate in clinical university-based studies, works in as little as 21 days, is effective for both HSV-1 and HSV-2, requires 0 side effect-filled medications, and hardly costs anything at all to use. Imagine, in just 21 days from right now, you could be completely free from the gnawing shame and constant fear that comes from always hiding your dirty little secret from the world. You'll never have to worry about telling the girl you like and who likes you back that you're damaged goods and that you can never be intimate with her. You'll never have to feel exposed and terrified by another humiliating outbreak, or fear not being able to get rid of the itching, burning, and blistering that goes along with one. If it sounds too good to be true, don't worry. I completely understand. In fact, I would have thought the same thing if I hadn't been part of the research team that discovered this breakthrough, or if I hadn't personally used this natural therapy to completely destroy every single trace of the herpes simplex virus in my body in less than a month. So all I ask is that you keep an open mind as you watch this short video, because in the next 5 minutes, I will not only give you the science and medical proof as to why this breakthrough method works, I'll even tell you how to start using it today so that you can set a countdown timer to being 100% herpes-free in just 21 days from now, just like 18,932 other men and women before you have already done. First, though, let me quickly tell you a little bit more about myself and how I became the first person in history to ever beat herpes. So, like I mentioned, my name is Sam Russell. I'm a 34-year-old veterinarian from just outside Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm married to my wife, Ella, an SEO consultant, and we have a 4-year-old daughter named Cindy. On the outside, it might seem like I'm living the American dream, but my beautiful life almost never came into existence because of a dark, dirty secret, my herpes. Thank God I defeated that demon in my life, and now I'm trying to share this message, no matter how embarrassing it is for me, with as many people as I can, so they too can beat herpes and get their lives back. So, how did I end up destroying the herpes virus in 21 days and then go on to find the love of my life and build the family of my dreams? Well, it all started with me getting dumped by a girl named Michelle, a girl who I thought was my soulmate, but who turned out to be a complete a-hole. Michelle and I met online on a Christian singles app. I know, super lame, right? In the beginning, it was all fireworks and rainbows, and we dated for about 3 months before we were intimate. I mean, I had only gone all the way with like 2 other girls before, but even though I was feeling very vulnerable, we were both mad for one another. I really thought she was the one, so we did it. But if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have come within 6 feet of that slimy liar, because ultimately I would pay a hefty price for that brief moment of lust. About 4 days after our romantic night together, I woke up feeling really sick and fatigued. I had the aches and chills, like a nasty flu had come on. And at first, I just figured either I was coming down with something, or maybe it was something I'd ate, since we just tried sushi for the first time the night before. I called Michelle and told her that I wasn't feeling well, and that I needed a few days before we saw each other again. And she said that she would stop by soon to bring me something to feel better, which I thought was super sweet. But after 2 days went by without a text or a call, I started to worry that she wasn't ever going to come around. And by the time a week had passed, without her replying to a single one of my texts or calls, well, it really started to tick me off. I thought to myself, look, I'm not just some sleazy guy you can play games with. You're not just going to write me off that easily. Not after we've been seeing each other for 3 months. and I finally let you in and get close to me. So maybe it sounds crazy, though I think it's perfectly reasonable, but I started showing up to her apartment, knocking on the door, wanting to talk to her and at least get some closure or understand why she was avoiding me. Yet Michelle never answered the door. It seemed like she was never home, almost like she didn't live there anymore. It was so creepy and so unsettling, but the girl had just completely ghosted me. It hurt so bad. The person I thought could be the girl of my dreams turned out to be a complete a-hole. I told some of my friends, and they couldn't believe she ditched me like that. She seemed so into me. I mean, she even had the nerve to call herself a Christian? I felt so used, abused, manipulated, and stupid that I actually thought this Michelle chick wanted me. But through the love and support of my friends, family, and church, before long, I was able to get over the anger. And I was ready to move on as a wiser man and stronger from my mistakes. Except, what I soon discovered was that my one night with Michelle would continue to haunt me long after she disappeared. You see, she'd done something to me that was unforgivable, something that I thought would leave me damaged goods for the rest of my life. And I bet you know exactly what that something I'm referring to is. It was 4 months after the last time I saw Michelle, and when I woke up for work, I saw an ugly cold sore sitting smack dab on my life. Plus, it was surrounded by a bunch of tiny, nasty blisters that were red and irritated. They were scabbing a bit too, and I immediately felt this wave of panic in my body because I'd never had a cold sore before in my life. It took me completely off guard. But I also told myself I shouldn't make a huge deal about any of this, since it was just a cold sore, not the end of the world, right? I figured I'd just wear a hat that day and no one would notice. It wouldn't be so bad. It's just a little cold sore, right? But when I got to the office, immediately, Sharon behind the reception desk gave me a look of disgust that quickly turned into an awkward, sympathetic smile, her eyes frantically trying to dodge the huge mountain of sores on my upper lip. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I walked into the dog kennel to greet our overnight pups, and even the dogs were afraid to get near me. Normally, they jump into my lap, kissing my face with 1,000 licks. But this morning, they barely wagged their tails at me, as if they too didn't want to catch whatever I had. What in the heck is wrong with me? Is it really that bad? I ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and yes, it really was that bad. The hat obviously didn't do a thing to hide my sores. If anything, it drew more attention and just made it worse. And I was looking like a sick, diseased thing that should have stayed home in bed. It was like I had locked lips with the Loch Ness Monster. Like I was one of those skanky guys that the whole cheerleading team had been with. I could hear the other guys around the office talking about me now. Did you see his mouth? Why would he even come to work like that? I know. If I had herpes that bad, I'd be hiding in the house for a week. And all this time I thought Sam was a good guy. Guess he likes to get dirty in his off hours. I can't believe he thought that silly hat was going to cover it up. Ha! I feel sorry for him. Man, if I were him right now, I would just die. And when I overheard the conversation between my work crush Chrissy and my friend Erica, heard how disgusting they thought I was, I just wanted to disappear so badly right then and there. Nothing could be worse than this shame and humiliation. Hot, fiery tears streamed down my cheeks as I hid in the bathroom stall, the whole office laughing at my pain. I went home early that day, saying that I was sick, but everyone knew it was because of my ugly mouth sores. And before I got out of the parking lot, I booked an emergency appointment with my doctor to find out what was going on, if this was actually herpes, and if I was really infected. Well, at the doctor's office, the news only got worse. She dropped a bombshell on me, telling me not only did I have HSV-1, herpes of the mouth, but I also tested positive for HSV-2, herpes of the genitals. I was devastated. It was official. I had herpes, and I'd have it for the rest of my life. A cloak of shame and disgust fell over me like a dark, stormy cloud, and I could feel the very blood in my body turn cold. How could this be? My doctor told me that herpes could take up to 6 weeks for it to be apparent in the bloodstream, and it could take months or even years for sores to develop. But she said that anyone I had been sexually active with in the last 6 months could have passed the virus to me. And that meant Michelle, the fake Christian I had met online. She'd given me herpes. I started to scream, nostrils flared, my eyes glaring at the wall in front of me. How could she just do that to me? She knew she was infected. She knew it. That's why she ignored me. My doctor, seemingly unfazed by my outrage, continued to rattle off symptoms and what to expect. She said those flu-like symptoms I had were common at the onset of a herpes infection. And that was definitely a telltale sign that Michelle had passed the virus to me. She said it was unfortunate because herpes had no cure, that for the rest of my life I'd experience multiple outbreaks per year on my mouth and down there, and that depending on my stress levels, it could get worse and worse as I age. She said that many people had it, as many as 1 in 5 adults, and that there was a lot of different medication I could use for it, but that ultimately nothing could or would cure me of herpes, and that I ought to learn to cope with having it. She was saying all these things as if they were supposed to somehow make me feel better about my condition, but it only made me feel worse. Not only did I have herpes, the most taboo infection in the history of the world, but now that I had it, I was obligated to tell my future wife all about my dirty little secret. That's if marriage was even an option for me anymore. Because who would want to be with me, knowing that I had the nastiest disease anyone could ever have? How could I tell anyone that I had herpes? I couldn't even imagine the horribly embarrassing conversation playing out in any other way except total failure. My herpes diagnosis made me feel like a leper, no longer able to exist in normal society. I was an infected, disgusting thing that not even a dog wanted to befriend. I felt like I couldn't come within a stone's throw of a human being. And it put so much shame, pain, and isolation around me. I fell into a deep depression, and for a whole 2 years, I didn't date a single soul. I became a total shut-in. I went to work, came home, took care of my pets, and that was it. I was spending hundreds of dollars on medication to combat my breakouts. But these medications were made with a lot of toxic chemicals, and they made me super nauseous and gave me headaches. I asked my doctor if there was something less harsh I could take, but she said that I would get used to the medication over time and that the prescriptions were the best thing for me since there was no cure. Plus, I had to find out on my own that certain foods were making my breakouts even worse and more frequent, like turkey, pork, and soy, which are rich with arginine, a chemical that the herpes virus needs to spread throughout your system. It was such a frustrating and isolating experience. I felt at such a loss. Each night, I'd go to sleep miserable with the nightmare of herpes on my mind, silently praying for a miracle that would deliver me from this shameful disease. Finally, after suffering 2 years with this horrible shame, I realized enough was enough. I couldn't go on living this way. I had to make a choice. I could do nothing about my herpes infection and plan to spend the rest of my life harboring this dirty little secret. I could do what my doctor said, keep using these pills and creams even though they were laden with toxic chemicals that made me sick and nauseated and weren't guaranteed to stop my breakouts anyway, or I could find another way. I could choose to do the unthinkable, the unorthodox, the extremely risky thing and fight for my health. Ultimately, I chose the third path. And the reason why is pretty simple. I didn't deserve to have one stupid mistake ruin my entire life, and I couldn't help but believe that if I put my mind to it, maybe I could find a way to beat herpes. So for the next 3 months, I became obsessed with finding a cure for herpes. I spent hours on the internet, researching and reading anything I could find about a cure for herpes. I didn't know what I was looking for, honestly. I was just hoping to find something. Any ray of hope that could show me a way to get rid of this disease. For most of those 3 months, it was just one dead end after another. But then, out of nowhere, one rainy Tuesday afternoon in early April, I found a ray of hope from the most unexpected of places, the local newspaper. It was kind of eerie because I pretty much never read the paper. In fact, The only reason I happened to read the paper on that Tuesday in early April is because someone had left a copy of the paper at one of the tables in my local Starbucks. And when it started to pour down rain right after I got my coffee, I decided to sit down and wait the storm out. So there I was, flipping through the different stories, sipping my drink, when suddenly, on the second to last page, I saw an ad in the paper that made my heart race. It was from a local scientific research laboratory, and they said they were seeking participants for a study on a new herpes therapy. It felt like God was handing me an olive branch. Though I didn't really trust the ad either, since, who even reads or advertises in the newspaper anymore? Still, though, I was so desperate at this point in my life that I gave them a call and asked more about their study. Well, after talking to the phone screener and then one of the research staff members, my heart only raced faster and faster. It turned out that they were trying a novel new approach to the herpes virus, and they were looking for one new candidate to test this approach on as fast as possible. I asked them why they only needed one candidate, and the research staff member basically told me that because any kind of laboratory trials with humans can be so risky and have so much legal liability, they were just starting with one person. And if things looked good, then they'd expand the same test out to more folks. Then the lady told me that they were going to hold interviews later that week, and said that if I was interested, I just needed to show up to their facility and be prepared to answer a few questions and to take a blood test. Well, I knew it was risky and even kind of scary, but at that point, I was willing to sell a kidney to get rid of my herpes. So on the day of the interviews, I woke up before the sun was even shining, got in my car, and made the 2-hour drive to a remote Salt Lake City business park about 2 hours from where I lived. I got there really early so I could be a young, fresh face that they'd remember. And I told myself over and over again that they would choose me for this study, and that if it came down to it, I would full-on make a scene if I didn't get what I wanted. I had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and I wasn't going to leave here taking no for an answer. Well, maybe one of the lab techs saw that fire in me, because while I saw dozens of other men and women at the research facility that morning, the next day they called and told me that I got the spot, and that they'd start prepping me for this study right away. At this point, I still didn't know exactly what the scientists were trying to do. I didn't know if they were trying to minimize my breakouts, lessen the severity of them, stop the itching and burning, or if they were trying to get rid of herpes completely. Either way, I was excited for the opportunity to be part of history and hopefully stop my herpes nightmare from ruining my life. When I met the chief researcher who was leading the study, I was initially taken aback. He was tall and looked friendly, a man that reminded me of my best friend's dad back in high school, the kind of person with a smile that says, everything's going to be all right. His name was Professor Bruce Mitchell, and he invited me to his office, asking me to sit down before taking the chair next to me. First, Professor Mitchell confirmed what I already knew, that the tests had come back positive for herpes, both HSV1 and HSV2, which for him and his team was good news, since it allowed them to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I listened to him as he started to explain the herpes virus in scientific terms, trying my best to hold in my anxious desire to find a cure. And Professor Mitchell must have seen the impatient look on my face, because he stopped about a minute in, shifted gears, and quickly broke everything down in a way I could easily understand. Your herpes outbreaks are basically warning signs. They're trying to tell you that your immune system has been compromised. Those warning signs are important because, as you probably already know, it's easy for your herpes to stay hidden for long periods of time, which means if you didn't have an initial outbreak, you would never know that you had the virus. In a lot of ways, having a herpes outbreak is similar to having a fever. Normally, a fever occurs because you've been infected by some sort of common virus, and your body raises its internal temperature both to warn you that you've been infected and to aid your immune system in fighting off the infected cells. Herpes is different from a common infection, however, in that even though your immune system is compromised, your body isn't naturally equipped to fight it. That's because once you've been infected with herpes, the virus burrows itself into your body and hides, just like a dirty rat will hide behind the walls of your home. Now, without getting too technical on you, let me quickly explain the science behind how the virus is able to hide from your immune system. The way it works is that herpes simplex encodes a protein called ICP47, or infected cell protein 47, in the body. This evil protein cloaks herpes from the immune system, which is what stops the immune system from being able to destroy it. That's also the reason why none of the herpes medications on the market are able to eliminate your herpes. All they can do is to stop the virus from growing inside of your body, but they can't destroy it because they don't even know where it's hiding. So, in other words, using those medications to fight herpes is a lot like trying to use your fists to fight a ghost. It's physically impossible. I gobbled up every word he said. To this point, no one had ever explained herpes in such a clear way. After all, he did say fighting herpes was basically impossible, like fighting a ghost. But what he said next piqued my interest and gave me a small light at the end of this dark, shameful tunnel. He went on to explain that while the herpes viruses hide in your body like a dirty rat nesting in the walls of your house, they had discovered a way to unhide the virus and bring it out into the open to be permanently eliminated by your immune system. He explained, "We studied what seemed to stimulate the virus and what seemed to cause it to go dormant. We rigorously tested hundreds of different ways to uncloak the virus, searching for a way to unbind the ICP47 protein from the cells so that it was no longer hidden from the immune system. And after about 4 months of testing, we finally made our first breakthrough. We discovered that there is a certain combination of organic chemical compounds that seem to act as a hyperstimulator. In other words, by adding these compounds to the body in a very specific dosage and span of time, we could separate the ICP47 proteins from the nerve cells, thus allowing the immune system to attack them." I really couldn't believe what I was hearing. These scientists really made a formula that could make your herpes treatable? I felt so full of hope that I could barely hold back my tears of relief. I finally felt that there was a chance to erase my herpes, along with the shame attached to it. I would no longer be a victim to this dirty rat hiding inside my body, showing his ugly face on my mouth or down there for the rest of my life. I would be free to find my Mrs. Right. And instead of confessing to a sexually transmitted infection and facing the rejection and judgment of being a silly guy, I could fall in love and live my American dream of getting married and having children. I was bouncing up and down with excitement as tears of joy started to well up in my eyes. The professor told me, though, that I needed to manage my expectations. Because even though something worked in a petri dish or on a mouse, it didn't mean it would work the same way in a human, too. "That's why we're doing this study," he said, while again telling me I needed to remain calm and to not get my hopes up too high. Then, Professor Mitchell had me sign about 50 pages of legal documents, confirming that I was a consenting adult, accepting all the potential side effects, and relieving the lab of all responsibility should anything go wrong during testing. Honestly, I pretended to read the legal stuff, but it was hard to focus. Despite Professor Mitchell's warnings, I was just so excited and filled with hope. And as soon as I felt like enough time had gone by to make it seem as though I'd really read everything in close detail, I quickly and happily signed my name across all of the pages. Within a week, they called me to start the testing. And I did everything they asked with a smile on my face, hardly able to sleep at night because I was so excited to see the results. After 2 weeks, though, the test results revealed that there was more work to be done. Even though they were able to draw the dirty rat herpes out of hiding and expose it to the immune system, and the immune system launched a full-on attack, the virus had used its time in hiding to become stronger, too strong for my immune system to beat on its own, and it failed to eliminate the virus. Once again, my situation started to feel hopeless, and I felt tempted to give up and accept my fate, to let my American dream die, and to live the rest of my life surrounded by isolation and loneliness. Professor Mitchell was scratching his head as he explained the test results to me. We found herpes, but it's much stronger than we anticipated. We have to figure out a way to make your immune system strong enough to destroy it. Do you have any ideas? I asked, anxiously, hoping that his team had a backup plan. I do, Professor Mitchell responded slowly, but it is risky. It's going to require us testing something brand new, something that could potentially put your immune system in overdrive. But if I dial up the organic compounds just enough, it shouldn't be harmful to you. In fact, it would make your immune system better, stronger than ever before. You might not only experience less frequent symptoms and less outbreaks, but heck, maybe we'd be able to get rid of herpes altogether. Wow, putting my immune system in overdrive did sound risky. I knew from my veterinarian studies that there was a fine line between a healthy immune system and an overactive one that caused inflammation. And I didn't want to put my body at risk of depleting itself and becoming weaker. Still, though, I knew that Professor Mitchell's idea made sense and that trusting him could be the best thing I ever did to get rid of my herpes. I thought of how far I'd come and just how close I was to getting my life back. And I thought of all the millions of other men and women I would potentially be able to help if I kept pushing and helped these scientists discover a cure or a breakthrough. So, in a moment of desperation or bravery, or maybe both, I stood up, looked Professor Mitchell straight into the eyes, and said, "I'm ready. Let's do it." At first, he was a bit shocked by my boldness, and I could tell that most of his test subjects weren't ready to get involved the way I was. But I could tell that he admired my perseverance, and after he was certain that I was serious, he agreed to give his theory a shot. So, after signing another 50 pages of paperwork, I readied myself for the next big experiment. And Professor Mitchell went to work formulating a unique vitamin and supplement regimen that, when taken in the right amounts over the right period of time, would give the immune system the boost it needed to win the fight against HSV-1 and HSV-2. He and his team tested more than 160 different formulas with limited results until finally, one frigid day in early January, we finally discovered a unique combination of vitamins, minerals, and supplements that, when taken properly, appeared to turn the immune system into an invincible war machine that was so powerful and so strong it could destroy the herpes virus for good. I say appeared because we'd only tested this new formula in a petri dish so far. But the very day Professor Mitchell got back the test results and saw that, at least in the lab sample, the virus had been completely destroyed, Professor Mitchell and his team immediately made preparations to test the formula out on their prized human guinea pig, me. Remember, at this point, I had no idea what was inside this formula. It was part of the agreement that I wouldn't be told or disclose any of the ingredients inside of the mixture to protect the work of the scientists. All I knew was that Professor Mitchell had made a risky decision to boost the antioxidant power of the formula so that it would send my immune system into overdrive, while potentially making it strong enough to beat my herpes virus for good. It was thrilling, but terrifying. If the experiment went wrong, it could make me sick or even threaten my life. So, the day we began testing the formula on me, I honestly felt really scared. Fortunately, though, that fear soon started to disappear because I wasn't having any negative reaction to the formula at all. Plus, it was comforting knowing that the scientific team was keeping such a close watch on me. The scientists monitored me and my blood test samples over the next few weeks. And pretty early on, the atmosphere throughout the research center began to turn electric. In week 1, they saw a huge burst in my antibody count, which proved that my immune system was in hyperdrive. In week 2, they saw a steady reduction of the antibodies, which was also a good sign because it meant that the herpes virus was being beaten and that my immune system was pulling in the ranks. And at the end of week 3, on the 21st day of testing, it was time for the moment of truth. Professor Mitchell took a blood test to see if any more herpes antibodies were left in my system. The stakes were insanely high. If I still had herpes antibodies present, then it meant that my body was still fighting the herpes virus and that I was still infected. If I didn't have any herpes antibodies present, however, it meant that my immune system was now strong enough to defeat the herpes virus. and that I was finally free from the disease. When Professor Mitchell called me into his office to go over the results with me, my stomach was filled with knots. I was so anxious, so excited, so nervous, so scared, and so full of hope that it was hard for me to even hear or process anything the professor was saying. But when he said, "Our numbers indicate that you're herpes-free," it was like a blurry camera that suddenly rushes into focus. Suddenly, everything in the room became vividly clear. Like I'd been underwater for the last 3 years of my life, but was suddenly pulled up into the air. I couldn't help myself. I jumped out of my chair, shrilling with excitement. Yes, yes, yes! We had beaten herpes. I was finally free of this nasty rat of a disease. I could live out my dreams of finding my Mrs. Right, who wouldn't have to judge me for my past mistakes, and who wouldn't have to worry about getting herpes from me. We could get married, start a family, and never be slowed down or humiliated by herpes ever again. I was free. I actually gave Professor Mitchell a hug, with tears of joy streaming down my face, and I could tell from the look on his face that he was feeling insanely proud too, because he really had just changed my life in that moment. Yet while Professor Mitchell was obviously thrilled, he also knew that his work was just beginning too. Now that he discovered the breakthrough of the century, the first ever known herpes eliminator, something that destroys the virus in 21 days, he had to get to work at getting his formula branded and ready for the world. It was going to be an insane whirlwind, but what an incredible ride it would be. Everyone in the lab talked about how Professor Mitchell would surely win awards for this discovery, maybe even the Nobel Prize. And that night, we gathered in the lab to do a champagne toast to our victory. It turns out, however, that we were all naive, and that all of the celebration was extremely premature. Because a few months later, when Professor Mitchell and his team presented their study to big-name universities around the nation, instead of praise, excitement, and front-page news coverage, they received hateful, rage-filled backlash and disdain. Some called Professor Mitchell's work insufficient. They said that even though his herpes-eliminating breakthrough had worked on me, along with 85 additional men and women in their first follow-up study, that wasn't enough. And still others refused to even read Professor Mitchell's research. They wrote off his herpes discovery like $10 snake oil, which was beyond bizarre, since it was all scientifically proven to work, and it followed every single scientific standard and procedure with exact precision. It was so shocking, so upsetting, I didn't understand any of it. In fact, the only person who didn't seem surprised by any of this was Professor Mitchell himself. He said that he was afraid this would happen because, as he explained to me one night, Big Pharma funded the medical and research departments of almost every major university in the world. And with the STD market making nearly $200 billion per year, the executives at the world's largest pharmaceutical companies had zero interest in a herpes-destroying breakthrough reaching the general public. It would cost them far too much money, along with their vacation homes off the coast of Italy, their private jets, their Rolls-Royces, and all the other expensive luxuries they felt entitled to. It was hard to believe. I couldn't help but wonder if Professor Mitchell was being overly cynical. But sure enough, within months of going public with his herpes-beating breakthrough, they pulled the plug on Professor Mitchell's research funding. And he even received threats about ruining his career. This was so unexpected. Professor Mitchell had just freed me of herpes in 21 days. But the world would never know of it? That was not an outcome I was willing to accept. No way! I knew all the agony I went through, and I wanted to help thousands of people who were just like me. Struggling to get my life back after being derailed into a pit of shame by herpes, I felt lucky that I had been saved, but I wasn't the only person who needed saving. So I went to Professor Mitchell and pleaded with him to let me take this to the public. Let me make a video explaining my story, his story, and the amazing herpes breakthrough that he created that killed the virus in 21 days. Let me be the one to share this with the world, because there's no way this formula deserved to be a buried secret. Professor Mitchell told me no probably 24 times at least, but I simply refused to take no for an answer. And finally, after more than a year of begging and pestering him around the clock, finally, Professor Mitchell threw up his hands and agreed. And in the last 5 years, we've spent almost every waking moment trying to bring this breakthrough to the American public. It has cost us countless dollars to make the formula Professor Mitchell discovered and to get it safely tested and properly packaged. I've received constant pushback from the powers that be, who've shut down this site not once, but twice already. I've gotten hate letters in the mail, anonymous death threats. One time, I was even run off the side of the road by someone who I'm pretty sure worked for Big Pharma. In other words, it's been a constant battle. And while I'm not sure how long we'll be able to fight off Big Pharma's bloodhounds, I know that today, I'm so happy to share this amazing breakthrough with you so you can finally get rid of herpes for once and for all, and never have to live in shame again. Professor Mitchell and I call this breakthrough Beyond Simplex. Because it destroys both types of HSV with one simple formula in as little as 21 days, Beyond Simplex is a scientifically backed breakthrough for HSV 1 and 2 sufferers everywhere. Not only is it state-of-the-art, but we believe it's better, more natural, and safer than any big-name pharma drug. And we have the science and statistics to prove it. Folks like Frank R. in California. He says, 8 years of suffering, gone, just like that. Having HSV 1 and 2 was humiliating. It was like having a dark cloud hanging over you. Now, I'm 7 months symptom-free. Beyond Simplex is the real deal. And Bethany D. in Illinois, who writes, I used to call in sick whenever I got a breakout on my face. It was disgusting, and I'd lay in bed and cry for a week straight, feeling like a horrible, hideous monster. I have tried everything to get rid of it, but Beyond Simplex is the first thing that actually wipes out my symptoms. Since my breakouts have stopped, I've gotten so much more confident. I feel beautiful again. And Lydia C. of New Mexico says, my best friend told me about Beyond Simplex. I dated a guy who ended up flaking on me after the first time we hooked up. Turns out he was infected, and he spread it to me, which I'll never forgive him for. When my friend saw me with a nasty cold sore, she showed me Beyond Simplex right away. I've been using it, and it's helped me tremendously. I've tried things like silver and stuff before, but it didn't always work. But Beyond Simplex does. Now I don't have to deal with the shame of walking around with blisters on my lips, or down there. Don't be afraid to give this a try. You won't be sorry. Those are just a few of the hundreds of emails and letters I'm now getting each week. And while I feel insanely proud every time I receive another message from a thrilled Beyond Simplex user, I can't say I'm entirely surprised. Because the truth is, Beyond Simplex really is the closest thing to a herpes cure that you can find. And the reason why is the breakthrough formula that Professor Mitchell developed through hundreds of tests and countless bouts of trial and error. Each of the ingredients inside Beyond Simplex has been scientifically supported to help fight HSV 1 and 2 in numerous clinical trials. And let me go ahead and tell you about each of the ingredients inside Beyond Simplex right now. That way, you can see for yourself exactly what makes this special formula so effective. Beyond Simplex super ingredient number 1, berberine. Berberine is a wild plant that has been part of Eastern medicine for thousands of years. And studies show that berberine is effective at fighting inflammation, oxidation, and bacterial infections. Plus, it can even help you lose weight. All of that's awesome. But of course, the real reason why Professor Mitchell included berberine inside Beyond Simplex is because of its powerful anti-herpes properties. Berberine is one of the few plants in the world that is actually as effective as prescription-strength medication when it comes to fighting herpes. And the reason why is because of a powerful compound found inside the berberine plant called Coptitis rhizoma. Coptitis rhizoma is found in the long underground stems of the berberine plant. And in a major study published in the Journal Archives of Virology, it was found that not only did Coptitis rhizoma have very strong anti-HSV effects, but that it also may interfere with the viral replication cycle after virus penetration, which is just a fancy way of saying that the Coptitis rhizoma compound can stop the herpes virus from replicating. Plus, in another major study of Coptitis rhizoma, this one published in the journal Virus Disease, scientists were shocked to find that this compound has been shown to prevent HSV penetration into the cell, which means that with the Coptidis rhizome compound that's found inside berberine, you can actually stop the herpes virus from entering your cells in the first place. That's a really big deal, because as you saw today, the herpes virus is a lot like a dirty rat that likes to burrow deep into your cells, which is why getting rid of herpes can be so impossible. Well, Coptidis rhizoma stops the virus from entering your cells so that it can't hide from your immune system, which makes the virus dramatically easier to destroy. Pretty neat, right? And that's still not all, because you should know that berberine isn't just good for defeating the herpes virus. It's also filled with powerful compounds that can balance your hormones. Plus, it's been shown to help improve cholesterol, fight heart disease, and even help with depression too. Now, if you hear all of this and wonder why you've never heard of berberine before, it's because, while there are plenty of studies showing just how effective the compounds in berberine can be at defeating HSV and keeping it out of your cells, mainstream science typically is more focused on synthetic, chemically engineered drugs. And it wasn't until the work of Professor Mitchell and his team that people have really started to catch on to the powerful anti-herpes benefits of this special plant. Our team was the first to infuse berberine in a powerful anti-herpes formula like Beyond Simplex. But this ingredient is just the start, because there are still several additional powerful ingredients that I need to share with you right now. Beyond Simplex super ingredient number 2, ultra bioavailable L-lysine. L-lysine, if you don't know, is one of the 9 essential amino acids found in dairy, meat, and some legumes. And it's probably the most popular natural remedy for herpes, which makes sense since numerous studies have shown that L-lysine can stop the virus from replicating. In a major double-blind placebo-controlled and randomized trial published in the Journal of Dermatology, it was found that taking an L-lysine supplement each day for 6 months reduced herpes outbreaks dramatically. Plus, symptoms were significantly diminished in severity, and healing time was significantly reduced in the L-lysine group, but not in the placebo group. And in another major double-blind study that included 65 patients and lasted 12 weeks, it was found that for the L-lysine group, significantly more patients were recurrence-free during lysine than during placebo treatment, meaning that those who took L-lysine regularly had a much smaller chance of experiencing an outbreak. Yet while these studies are both really exciting, and while there are over 210 additional studies on L-lysine and herpes published on the National Institutes of Health's website, you might be thinking to yourself, but I've tried an L-lysine supplement before and I still had an outbreak. If that's you, you're not alone. In fact, when I first found out that I had both HSV1 and HSV2, L-lysine was one of the first supplements I started taking. And while it did help some, it definitely didn't make my herpes disappear entirely. At the time, I didn't know why, but I do after working with Professor Mitchell. You see, as he explained it to me, while L-lysine is indeed a powerful herpes suppressor, it doesn't actually target your infected cells. It's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. L-lysine is great at whacking the herpes virus when it rears its ugly head inside your body, but it doesn't go deep into your cells to eradicate the virus entirely. This is the exact reason why Professor Mitchell and his team decided to combine L-lysine with berberine, the #1 ingredient inside Beyond Simplex. Berberine penetrates deep into your cells, stopping the HSV virus from replicating and forcing it out into the open. And once they're out in the open, L-lysine starts attacking the virus, so that it has nowhere else to turn. It's an incredibly powerful 1-2 punch. But that's still just the beginning. Beyond Simplex super ingredients number 3 and number 4, resveratrol and turmeric. Resveratrol is a powerful antioxidant compound that's found in certain dark-skinned grapes, while turmeric is a famous orange-colored super spice that's recently become incredibly popular in the US. Combined, these ingredients have more than 10,000 published studies that show their incredible health-supporting benefits. But the main reason Professor Mitchell added them to the Beyond Simplex formula is because they are proven to boost the human immune system in a special, very powerful way. And this is one of the key reasons why Beyond Simplex is more effective than any other herpes solution in existence. Remember, to permanently rid your body of the herpes virus, first you need to get the herpes virus out of hiding, which is what berberine, ingredient number 1, does. Second, you need to keep the herpes virus exposed, which is what L-lysine, ingredient number 2, does. And finally, you need to make sure your body is able to destroy the herpes virus forever, which is what resveratrol, ingredient number 3, and turmeric, ingredient number 4, do. How? Both resveratrol and turmeric are incredibly powerful immunomodulators, which is a fancy way of saying that they regulate your immune system, revving it up when there is a threat, then cooling it back down after the threat is extinguished. In the case of herpes and Beyond Simplex, this is crucial, because once the herpes virus has been rooted out of your cells and is exposed in your body, you need to put your immune system into overdrive. That way, your immune system is strong enough to not just attack the virus, but to utterly destroy it, without leaving any survivors. That's exactly what turmeric and resveratrol have been proven to do, to make your immune system reach unstoppable levels whenever there's a threat like herpes. Professor Mitchell added one more powerful immune-supporting ingredient to Beyond Simplex too, and that's Beyond Simplex super ingredient number 5, odorless, tasteless garlic. We've known for decades that garlic is a superfood, and there are hundreds of studies proving that it's one of the best immune-boosting ingredients in the world, including a recent 2015 study in the Journal of Immunology Research that found garlic supports the immune system in over 10 different ways, and a major study published in the Journal of Microbes and Infections which found that garlic was specifically effective at destroying both HSV-1 and HSV-2. That's why Professor Mitchell and his team decided to add a special, highly potent form of garlic extract to Beyond Simplex, something that is tasteless, odorless, and completely pleasant to take, but that gives your immune system that final, powerful push required to destroy the herpes virus forever. And when you put all 5 of these ingredients together, berberine, ultra-bioavailable L-lysine, resveratrol, turmeric, high-potency garlic that is tasteless and odorless, it should be pretty easy to see why Beyond Simplex really is one of the most exciting health breakthroughs of the last several decades. Beyond Simplex is your answer to ending your life sentence with herpes. Just take 2 small, easy-to-swallow capsules each day, and within a few short weeks, you could be given a whole new lease on life. I should also tell you that because Beyond Simplex is based on the work of pioneering scientists, they've made sure it is completely safe and effective. And every single bottle of Beyond Simplex is made in a GMP-certified facility. Plus, every batch is also tested by a third party for purity and safety, which means you can be sure that what you see on the label is what's actually inside each capsule of this herpes-destroying formula. In the time since we first brought the discovery of Beyond Simplex to the public, many folks have tried to imitate us. But there is still nothing else like Beyond Simplex available to the public. A breakthrough formula that is scientifically based and tested, that uses clinically supported dosages for each ingredient, and that can help destroy the herpes virus inside your body fast. And while our lawyers are constantly warning us that sharing Beyond Simplex could put our lives, our careers, and our families in jeopardy, since it threatens a $200 billion STD drug industry, in just a moment from now, I'm going to show you how you can get your hands on your very own supply of this herpes-destroying breakthrough and have it quickly and discreetly sent to your front door. I'm not afraid of the vengeful wrath of Big Pharma, and you shouldn't be either, because let's be really honest here. You deserve to be freed from the relentless, haunting demon that is the herpes virus. You deserve a life that isn't plagued with shameful, dark secrets that make it impossible for you to get close to anyone ever again. You deserve the chance to do all of this in just 21 days. Beyond Simplex could really be like your second chance, your do-over. This could be the moment in life where that one stupid mistake, some unlucky event, no longer means you're stuck with the consequences forever. But if you're ready to start using Beyond Simplex for yourself, then I do need to let you know it's very urgent that you do take action today while you're watching this video. That's because Beyond Simplex is only available online and can't be purchased in retail stores. And because this herpes-fighting formula is so controversial, right now, even as we speak, there are lobbyists and lawyers coming after every pill we've made, too, trying to stop us from sharing this message with you. But none of that matters. Not the risks, threats, not even me or Professor Mitchell's lives. All that matters is that you get this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reclaim your life, to win back your dignity, and to get a fresh start on your health. Beyond Simplex defeats both HSV viruses with one simple formula in as little as 21 days, which means in less than 1 month from now, you could be completely free from herpes for good. And it's for all of these reasons that while the normal price of Beyond Simplex is $120, you're not going to be asked to invest anywhere near that for access to this anti-herpes breakthrough here today. Because even though $120 is absolutely a bargain already, especially for a pill that's being called the closest thing to a cure for herpes by leading scientists, like I've already said, we're not in this for the money. We want to make sure that our breakthrough reaches as many people as possible before our site gets shut down. Which is why, right now, and only while this website remains online, you won't need to invest $120 in Beyond Simplex or even $99. Instead, if you act today and through this website and make a life-changing decision to rid your body of the painful and embarrassing effects of herpes right now, we have decided to offer you the very solution that helped me beat herpes and gave me my life back for just $69.95 for a single bottle of Beyond Simplex. But wait, I've explained just how important it is to me to spread the word about this miracle herpes solution. So, I want to do even more to ensure that as many people as possible can take advantage of this mind-blowing solution while it's still available. I set up an exclusive, deeply discounted package that will include 4 bottles of Beyond Simplex at just $49.95 per bottle. Remember, this offer is only available today, so we will even throw in free shipping to anywhere on the planet, which is a value of at least $9.95. Everyone deserves to be free of the life-altering effects of herpes. Plus, by stocking up on Beyond Simplex now, you also ensure that if Big Pharma wins and this website does get taken down, you'll still have enough Beyond Simplex in your medicine cabinet to keep being protected. And because so many people choose the 4-bottle option of Beyond Simplex, Professor Mitchell and I have decided to include even more. When you invest in Beyond Simplex, you'll also receive access to 2 powerful and beneficial bonuses, absolutely free. The first bonus is a direct plan of action that will teach you several methods to boost your immune system in as little as 2 weeks. In addition to Beyond Simplex, your body will have that extra push to keep those herpes symptoms far, far away. With this immune-boosting advice, you'll also keep other illnesses like the cold and flu at bay as well. The ebook typically retails for $39, but you will receive it completely free when you hit the button below and order Beyond Simplex today. The second bonus is a revival system to spice up your sex life. While herpes can definitely hurt your sex life, this bonus can help you get it back literally overnight. Also retailing at $39, this ebook offers several simple ways to help you communicate about better sex. Embrace a little experimentation and even try a few new tips and tricks that will finally help you get some enjoyment back in the bedroom. So, what are you waiting for? Just click the orange button below right now and choose the package of Beyond Simplex that you think would be best for you, including our 2 free ebooks. Once you've clicked that button you're seeing right now, you'll go to our secure, 100% encrypted checkout page, where you'll confirm which package you're choosing and enter your order details. And the moment you're finished, we'll immediately ship your supply of Beyond Simplex out to you, plus the 2 bonuses. The checkout process takes about 2 minutes total. And considering that once you've got Beyond Simplex in your hands, you could very well rid your body of the herpes virus forever. I'd say it's probably the best 2 minutes you'll ever spend in your life. So go ahead and click that button you see below right away. Once that button is gone, it means that our supply of Beyond Simplex has been depleted, and you will have missed this important opportunity. So get started with your order while this website remains online and we still have bottles of Beyond Simplex in stock. I should also mention that your investment in Beyond Simplex is backed by our 90-day, 100% money-back guarantee. It works like this. Right now, go ahead and click the button you see beneath this video. Then select a package of Beyond Simplex. Once you've placed your order, it will arrive in 3 to 5 business days in an anonymous package. And once you get your package, I want you to tear it open and start taking your 2 capsules of Beyond Simplex immediately. I'm confident that once you start using Beyond Simplex, things will start changing inside your body for the better and fast. But if for any reason you don't like your experience with Beyond Simplex, or even if you do like it, but you just change your mind, simply call or email our award-winning US-based customer service team, and we will refund your entire investment, no questions asked. But wait, we want to really make sure that you feel secure about buying Beyond Simplex. So we're going to really make this one of the easiest purchasing decisions of your life. In fact, we are willing to give you not just a refund, but an additional $100 back to you just for giving it an honest try. We know we are taking a big risk here, but we are so convinced that you will absolutely love the results that we want to offer you every possible incentive to say yes to Beyond Simplex. Also, we won't even ask you to send back the bottle, whether it's used or unused. You can keep it and still get all your money back if you're not happy within 90 days. Plus, the 2 bonus ebooks are still yours to keep. In other words, there's literally 0 risk in trying out Beyond Simplex today. And you should know that we use a third-party customer service team, which might sound like a bad thing, but it's actually really good. Here's why. While Professor Mitchell and I don't know how long we'll be able to keep this website up, the customer service team we hired has been around for years, which means even if Big Pharma does ultimately beat us, you'll still be able to call or email the customer service team and get your full refund right away along with your extra $100. This should give you total peace of mind, which is why, again, there's simply no reason not to click the button you see below right now and purchase your package of Beyond Simplex today. This presentation is now ending, and ultimately, it's your decision. You can close your browser right now and just go on with whatever you were doing before God brought you here to this webpage. But I do have to ask, if you don't decide to invest in Beyond Simplex today, what's going to change? Are you going to hold out for some new Big Pharma miracle cure? Continue taking meds that will hopefully keep your symptoms in check? Buy random supplements online even though they don't have any research or hardcore science behind them? You could do any or all of those things, but again, why would you? I know what it's like to suffer from herpes, the horror, the anxiety that comes from a breakout, how it feels like your life is ruined. If you're in the same boat, if you've watched this entire presentation and you're still here, it's because you are desperate for a solution just like I was. Well, Beyond Simplex is that solution. It's that life jacket from God. Your chance to start all over again. That's why I highly encourage you to take the second, much smarter option. To say yes to Beyond Simplex today, right now, while this website is still online. Then start using it every single day and do it all without any risk on your part. Since this is completely covered by a full 90-day, 100% money-back guarantee and an extra $100 just for giving it an honest try. It really is your choice, but I'm confident you're going to make the smart decision here today by clicking that button you see below the video right now and placing your order for Beyond Simplex. Thank you so much for watching this video and for hearing my story. And God bless. Sam Russell. Hey, are you still here? No problem. I know we just covered a lot in this video, and you probably have a ton of thoughts running through your mind. So right now, let me go ahead and answer some of the most common questions people ask me about Beyond Simplex. And that way, you can invest in this herpes-fighting breakthrough with full confidence. 1. How does Beyond Simplex work again? Once you're infected with either HSV1 or HSV2, the herpes virus, it burrows itself deep inside your cells, where it hides away hidden from your immune system. Your outbreaks are caused each time herpes decides to rear its ugly head and leave your cells. And when this happens, your immune system does try to destroy your herpes. However, it's just not enough. The virus goes back into hiding inside your cells. Professor Mitchell's breakthrough formula uses a combination of 5 natural ingredients that stop this entire process. Berberine, ingredient number 1, forces herpes to stop hiding and replicating inside of your cells. This makes it exposed and vulnerable. L-lysine, ingredient number 2, then keeps the herpes virus trapped outside, so it can't go back to hiding. Resveratrol, turmeric, and garlic, ingredients number 3, 4, and 5, then put your immune system into overdrive, so that it's powerful enough to actually destroy the herpes virus once it's exposed. In other words, all of these ingredients work together in beautiful harmony. And it's really important that you do use all of them at the same time. Otherwise, you only make a dent in your infection, but you don't destroy herpes entirely. That's why Professor Mitchell and I brought Beyond Simplex to the public, because it does give you a powerful, clinically supported dosage of all 5 ingredients at the same time, which allows you to fully root out and destroy your herpes infection in as little as 21 days. 2. So you're saying I can destroy my herpes infection in just 21 days? For me, personally, using the ingredients in Beyond Simplex made me effectively herpes-free in just 21 days. And others have seen similar results as well. With that being said, however, it's important to note that each person's body is different, which means your own individual results will vary. 3. How long will Beyond Simplex be available to the public? I honestly have no idea. Our goal is to get Beyond Simplex into every single herpes sufferer's hands, so that we can make this awful and nasty infection a thing of the past. But at the same time, we are under constant attack from the big drug companies. They hate that there's a natural and inexpensive way to attack the herpes virus. And they are hell-bent on shutting me and Professor Mitchell down. So I really don't know how long this video will remain online. Hopefully for a long time, but this site could go down in a matter of weeks even. 4. What are the terms of that guarantee again? It's super straightforward. Once you receive your order of Beyond Simplex, you have a full 90 days to try it out and see if it's right for you. So many people love this breakthrough formula, and I'm pretty sure it will be life-changing for you as well. But if, for any reason, you don't love Beyond Simplex or you change your mind about your investment, just call or email our US-based customer service team and we'll immediately refund your entire order with no questions asked. All you have to do is ship back your unused bottles. And don't forget, you'll also get an extra $100 just for giving it an honest try. How cool is that? 5. Okay, I'm ready to order. What now? That part is easy. Just click the button you see below right now. You'll then go to our secure checkout page, where you'll confirm how many bottles you want and place your order. After you submit your order, we'll go to work, shipping Beyond Simplex direct to your door. And Beyond Simplex is always shipped in a completely discreet package too, which means you don't need to worry about any awkward conversations with friends, roommates, family, or neighbors. They'll have no idea that the answer to your prayers just arrived at your front door. It honestly couldn't be simpler. So go ahead, click that button below right now and place your order. And in just 21 days, you could very well be free from herpes for the rest of your life.